Let me introduce myself. I am John Philip Billones. I'm a Business Development Officer for the Mindanao desk of FirstMetro Securities Brokerage Corporation. So here in FirstMetroSec, we acknowledge that this is the current demographics of stock market investors in the Philippines. Imagine, for a country with over 100 million in population, only 1.2 million have stock market accounts. So that's why you hear constantly, diba, that around 1% lang nag-invest sa stock market, and we can clearly see that in this number. Most of them even prefer online at 782,000. Most of them are also locally employed, but there's been gaining interest from OFWs and students. As you can see, the demographics, most of these investors are actually from Metro Manila, that's 75%. The rest of the country have yet to catch up sa Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Even where I am based, we only comprise about 3.3%. No? So that's why our team, the Business Development and Market Education team, we conduct these types of webinars from island to island, from even office to office, no? To educate more Filipinos about the importance and the merits of investing in the stock market. Noon, we used to conduct this face-to-face. Here are some photos, no, from private, public, and academic institutions and some big conferences. However, these types of gatherings are not that encouraged already because of the pandemic. That's why tonight's format is a webinar. And we're very grateful, no, na imagine, no, because of technology, kahit nandito ako sa Davao, I could still share a thing or two about financial and investment literacy. We thought nga, no, that the invitations, no, kasi we frequently get invited din by corporations, from government institutions, and even mga schools, no, to learn more about investing. But we're quite lucky enough, no, that even with the pandemic, we were still able to provide value by conducting these types of sessions, no. Ito, this is one of the companies here in Mindanao, wherein, ito, just to tell you a story, no, there were quite a number of seminars during this day. So since I already said yes to them, what we did na lang for this, kasi nag-conflict sa schedule, I actually pre-recorded a webinar for them na they just watch on-site for their employees. Sometimes you also get invited by DTI Negosyo Center, especially dito sa Mindanao. Hindi lang financial literacy, but even yung starting guide in investing in stock. And of course, no, sometimes, again, ang beauty ng technology. In Ateneo de Manila, they have this group called Stock Plus. Parang they conduct a tournament dito. So medyo active traders yung nasa grupo. And of course, no, they tapped us to be resource speakers. And I'm very fortunate enough to be one of them. No? So ito naman, of course, since they want to learn how to trade. So this webinar is technical analysis. So introduction lang naman. So basics, no, price action, concepts about technical analysis, ganun. Ayan. So sometimes we are also invited by PSE. We've also conducted some sessions with them. You can check their page, no, for our sessions with them. So ito naman, Stock Market 101. And paminsan, from time to time, TGFI have also invited us to conduct these types of sessions. So my point here why I'm showing this to you is because you can invite us, no, later if you see value in what we teach here, makikita nyo how we do things, then you can feel free to invite us sa inyong organizations, sa inyong company, kahit groups ninyo, no? So feel free to let us know so we can arrange a webinar for you. And as you can see naman, very diversified yung mga topics, and that's what we are really proud of kasi we can really tailor fit the webinar for the needs of your organization. So for tonight, I have a core message for you because every seminar that I conduct, I always want to have a core message. Kumbaga, if there's one key takeaway that you can bring home tonight, no, if wala kayo sa bahay ngayon, no, this is it. And my core message for you tonight is this. I want us all to achieve our life goals, no? Yung mga hashtag life goals natin. But siguro naging on pause yan siya because of the pandemic. But this was actually a good opportunity for us to learn and maybe save a lot of money, no? Kasi hindi tayo masyado lumalabas. And in order for us to do that, I'm going to teach you essentially 3 things tonight. That is to budget, save, and invest your hard-earned money. And that's my core message for you tonight in this webinar. Alright? Para ma-achieve natin yung goal na yan, these are the things that we're going to discuss. Una, we're going to discuss why do we need to save our hard-earned money. No? Very important, very important. Parang simple question, pero paminsan nakakalimutan natin. No? Too generous tayo or maluwang tayo when it comes to pera. So next, after learning how to save, how to budget and build your emergency fund. I think very important din to know as we go to riskier assets such as stocks. I think it's good to have a good foundation talaga. And one of the basics is really the emergency fund. No? So if napatanong kayo, no, ano ba emergency fund? Later, sasagutin natin yan. Alright? Now, after building your emergency fund and have a solid budget, why should we consider to invest? No? Dapat tanong natin, hindi, we should not invest because everyone is investing. No? Dapat meron tayong sariling reason for doing so. And maraming investment options out there. So what is the suitable investment for us? So isa rin yan na parang pabaon ko sa inyo tonight. When the webinar is over, ngayon malalaman mo talaga ano yung fit sa'yo. So dito rin mafi-filter din if fit ba kayo sa stocks or kailangan nyo haluan siya ng bonds or very conservative kayo. Pag-usapan natin yan mamaya. And of course, how can FirstMetroSec help? Alright, so those are the things na i-discuss natin tonight. So let's answer the first question. Why save our hard-earned money? Na very basic question. Okay? For this presentation, I just, kasi paminsan nakikita ko to sa sometimes even our close friends and family, we sometimes see them in this cycle. No, yung tipong they work hard for the money. Of course, we all work hard for the money because we want to earn income, no? Who doesn't want to earn income naman, di ba? Because we want to be independent. And of course, no, pinaghirapan natin yung pera na yun, medyo natin yun, we are proud to do that. All right? But sometimes no, when we receive our hard-earned money, siguro sa stress or something, sometimes we prioritize our lifestyle. Now, of course, no, we all live a certain lifestyle. I'm not going to judge you whatever kind of lifestyle you choose. Yung word of caution ko lang is not to fall into instant gratification. Okay? Instant gratification is like you prioritize your wants over your needs. Okay? So yung tipong, ayan, you know that, no? Yeah, by now, you should be able to differentiate both. Sometimes nauna yung lifestyle before even thinking about our responsibilities, no? Yung mga bills natin, no? Si due date ng buhay natin, no? Yung due date sa bahay, sa kuryente, sa sasakyan, sa condo, or sa lupa, no? So nakikalimutan natin yung mga responsibilities natin. Na sometimes lang din naman, no? We are put in a position because of the lifestyle and our bills. Sometimes we live beyond our income, di ba? So of course, no, if we live beyond our income, of course, wala tayong maiipon. There will be no savings. Now, actually, no, I think as Filipinos, resilient naman talaga tayo na race, no? I think that's manageable for us, no? Yung tipong we're living parang paycheck to paycheck. But sometimes kasi in life, no, merong mga curveballs na tinatapon sa yung life eh. For example, merong emergency nangyari and you don't have cash for that emergency. Now, sometimes you are put in a position wherein we have to consider debt. No? Kasi nga wala tayong existing na pera to pay it in cash, sometimes you resort to debt. Okay? Actually, yung debt naman, it's good naman siya if you are able to manage it properly. Yung tipong if you use debt to actually produce more money. Pero paminsan kasi, I'm not sure if na-experience niyo, but sometimes yung debt, paminsan nagiging emergency natin siya. No? Kung wala na tayong pera, sometimes we resort to debt. Again, okay lang yung debt if it actually gives you more money. Yan naman yung ginagawa ng mga business owners eh. No? If they have plans for their business, then they can borrow money as long as they know that they can pay it on top of the interest. So that will generate them more money. Okay? That's good debt. Pero sometimes kasi we buy things that doesn't generate us more money. And baka yung debt na yan is yung bad debt. Okay? Now, again, no, the problem with debt is that since no, yung likely the lifestyle and bills natin are constant, sometimes because of this, we need to now work harder. Kailangan na natin hanap na extra income kasi we are living beyond our income. And yun lang, hopefully we don't get caught up in this trap and we are able to identify this early on. Okay? So you might say no, baka ano lang yan, no? Baka hypothetical lang. But here's a consumer finance survey by Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. They found out that 61% of adult Filipinos, their income is equal, no? Parehas lang yung income nila sa kanilang expenses. So that's more than 50%. That's around 2 in every 3 Filipinos that you know. Tapos naman, meron 33% wherein their income is much less than their expenses. So ito talaga yung demographics wherein prone sila to go into bad debt, no? Kasi nga mas malaki yung expenses nila compared to their income. Okay? But buti na lang may silver lining din naman, no? Kasi merong 6% wherein their income is much greater than their expenses. Okay? Now, let's face reality, no? This is statistics. So since this is statistics, we must fall into one of these 3 categories. So hopefully through this webinar, maybe we can use this opportunity to ask ourselves, no? Where are you right now? No, saan tayo ngayon? Okay, kasi statistics to eh. We must fall into one of these 3 categories. After answering that, of course, the next question will be, where do you want to be? Because if you are able to answer both of those questions, then the next step would be what to do in order to get to where you want to be. Okay? Kasi paminsan, hindi lang tayo aware eh. No? Hindi lang tayo aware. So hopefully, we can reflect on this in this webinar. Now, just to give an analogy, and of course, now I want to give one of my first messages for you tonight. It's actually not about how much money you earn, no? Kasi from the previous slide, you might be saying na swerte lang yung mga malalaki yung income or yung earnings nila. Now, that may be true on some level, but just to give you a counterintuitive thinking about it, it's not about how much money you earn, okay? Wala yan sa kinakita ninyo. But it's actually about how much money you save, no? Nasa ipon nyo yan siya. Kasi parang probably kahit noon, no, I was actually parang ganito yung reality ko noon, no. I treat yung income parang yun yung lumalabas dito sa faucet, no. That's our income. But when it flows to our wallet, represented by this pail, marami tayong mga expenses or may butas yung mga pail natin, no. Now, of course, no, lalabas yung water from there, hindi mako-contain yung tubig within that. Now, ang goal natin ngayon is to actually identify those holes and identify if there are needs or wants or pwede natin siyang takpan o to stop spending on that matter. Okay? Of course, no, ito yung ideal, but I think this is impossible naman, no, kasi we need to spend. Kailangan din yun ng economy. The thing here is that we need to minimize yung expenses natin para meron tayong opportunity to save more money. Alright, so when it comes to spending money, what do most Filipinos do? Okay, so some people, ganito yung ginagawa nila sa cash flow nila. No? Sometimes we need to understand our cash flow. When the income comes in, no, during our payday, if we are employed, sometimes naunang tanggalin dyan are our expenses, na yung mga gastos, di ba? So here's something funny pa talaga, na paminsan, no, di ba? I don't know if na-experience ninyo. Pero have you tried that na about to receive pa lang yung income ninyo, parang excited na kayo where to spend it, di ba? I don't know if you've experienced that, no, but that's parang red flag, no, parang gano'n. Tapos mamaya nyo na, no, after spending your income, later mo pa pag-iisipan. Sabihin mo lang sa sarili mo na whatever will be the excess, yun ang iipunin mo. So before we think about our savings, no, ganyan din yung ko. That's how I manage my cash flow din, no, on a personal level. And ako, I understand because I understand na merong emotional aspect yung spending. Kasi ako, I acknowledge na spending something that we want, it feels nice to do so, no? Yung we can buy new stuff and so on and so forth. Of course, merong may emotional aspect yun, which made it a really challenging thing for me to battle with. But up until I read this quote. Now, when I read this quote, what I'm about to show you, medyo nabago yung mindset ko when it comes to spending. I learned that your expenses is another person's income. Now, I don't know if na-realize nito. From your hard-earned money, if you prioritize your expenses, these expenses are actually another person's income. Income yan ng mga businesses, so on and so forth. Now, before, no, inuuna mo yung income ng ibang tao before thinking about yourself. No? Which is actually, yourself can be seen here sa savings. No? Kasi when you save money, you're saving money for the future. Hopefully, that also opened your eyes. And here's one of the messages I'm going to share with you tonight. In order to solve this, you need to pay yourself first. Okay? You need to pay yourself first. Bayaran mo muna yung sarili mo. If you have this type of cash flow, then you're paying other people first. Di ba? So, actually, simple lang ang solution dito eh. You just interchange your savings and expenses. Okay? So, in this case, from your hard-earned money, you prioritize yourself by paying yourself first, by saving first before you spend. Alright? So, later, we will improve upon this idea. But again, with this simple equation lang, makikita mo talaga na you can spend, no? Parang guiltless ka na gumastos. Kasi alam mo, before pa dumating yung pera sa'yo, nakapag-ipon ka na. So that's the importance of savings. Now, sometimes, no, even learning about that, we get to ask ourselves this question. How do we save when we have nothing left to save? No? I don't know if natanong niyo sa sarili niyo yan. No? Paano mag-ipon pag wala ka nang natira na iipunin? So of course, the first solution is to unahin mo yung savings mo before you spend. Now, with this question, this would lead us to my next topic. I'm going to share with you tonight 5 easy steps to plan a budget. Okay, ngayon alam na natin na kailangan mag-ipon and before spending, paano naman tayo magba-budget? No? We're leveling up right now. So first, ito very practical to. First step, you determine your take-home pay. Siguro by now, alam mo na yung take-home pay mo. So for the sake of this example, no, let's start with something yung easier for us to calculate. Okay, so sabihin natin, yung take-home pay mo is 20,000 pesos. Okay, sample lang naman. Problema yan, no, if hindi mo alam yung take-home pay mo. But that's the first step. After determining your take-home pay, your step 2 is to apply the 50-30-20 rule of thumb. Ano ba yung 50-30-20? So, this rule of thumb says that 50% of your take-home pay for your needs yan siya. Para sa mga kailangan mo. Then your 30% is for your wants. Yan din, no? You might be saying na yung budget medyo restricting siya, but actually hindi. You allocate yung for your wants, no? Para ma-enjoy naman tayo sa life natin and hindi siya boring. Then 20% will be for saving and investing. Okay? So that's the 50-30-20 rule of thumb. So in our example, no? So if your take-home pay is 20,000, then yung 20% niyan is 4,000 pesos. So you save and invest that amount. And yung needs mo, that is 50%, so that's 10,000 pesos. Then your wants is 30%, so that is 6,000 pesos. So hopefully you can write this down, no, para at least simple lang. So mamaya, of course, no, magkakaiba tayong take-home pay lahat, input niyo yan dyan. If nahirapan kayo to budget, this can be a good start with you. And just a reminder pala, no, dito sa step 2, hindi mo pa to natatanggap yung pera. No? So, for example, in your next payday, no, determine mo na, no, hindi pa dumating yung pera mo, you should know where it goes. Okay? Kasi a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. No, that's a quote from Dave Ramsey. Kasi ngayon, hindi mo pa hawak yung pera. But with that 50-30-20 budget, that's already telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. No? I don't know if na-experience niyo, no? No, when you open your wallet, parang you are, parang you're astonished, no? Saan pumunta yung pera ko, di ba? And with the budget, this can help you solve that problem. Okay? Kasi hindi pa dumating yung pera mo, you already know where to put those money in. Okay? So this brings us to the third step, no? Pag natanggap niyo na yung pera, put the allocated money in separate envelopes, no? So we call this the envelope na technique. For example, label mo yung first envelope, saving and investing, lagay mo yung 4,000 pesos doon sa envelope. Yung needs, sabi natin, 10,000 pesos, lagay mo doon sa envelope. Then the wants, lagay mo yung 4,000, that should be 6,000, no, kasi 30%. So apologies for that. So yung 6,000, ilagay mo siya doon sa wants. Okay? Now, of course, no, tinatawag ito na envelope technique kasi of course, na envelope pa noon. But for example, right now, if you have multiple accounts, no, in let's say in your bank, you can actually set up auto fund transfer. No, from your payroll account, pwede kayong mag-set up ng regular fund transfer from that payroll account to your different accounts. And yung different accounts na yun, it could be for different purposes. So, yan, you can set that up right now. Or if gusto nyo ng medyo old school, maganda ditong envelope technique. Okay, so yeah, now the beauty of this envelope technique is that you would know. For example, you're going to go for your grocery run, diba? So, for example, mag-grocery ka, dadala ka ng cash. Then you look at the envelopes, di mo pa alam yung laman. So, of course, yung grocery is actually a need. No, need siya. So, bubuksan mo yung envelope ng need mo and take out the money, yung budget nyo for that grocery. Then, you can do your grocery. Or if gumagamit kayo ng debit card for that, you can swipe that debit card for your needs. Now, for example, nakakita kayo ng magandang shoes, no? Yung latest na lumabas na shoes na favorite brand ninyo. And sabihin natin, medyo luxurious siya. Yung tipong worth 10,000 pesos. Now, alam mo, meron ka pang existing na sapatos which are still in good condition. So, you identify yourselves again, ano ba tong sapatos? Is this a need or is this a want? So, likely ngayon, since meron ka pang sapatos, this is a want. Di ba? So, bubuksan mo yung envelope mo sa want, and you see there 4 or 6,000 pesos. So, kulang pa siya for that cycle. So, this actually lets you know na, ay, kulang pa pala yung budget ko. So, hintayin ko muna na umabot siya ng 10,000 pesos bago ko bibilhin yung sapatos na yun. Kasi alam mo, wala siyang laman. Of course, this also tells you na you cannot take it from your saving and investing kasi hindi naman yung investment yung sapatos mo siguro, di ba? Hindi mo rin yung need kasi meron ka mang existing na sapatos. Alright? So again, with this envelope technique, this lets you know that a budget isn't about restricting what you can spend. No? Hindi yan siya, parang, di ba yun kasi feeling ng iba parang nasasakal sila when they talk about budgeting, they become uncomfortable about it. Kasi akala nila, budgeting is restricting what you can spend. No, it's actually the other way around. A budget is actually giving you the permission to spend without guilt or regret. Kasi alam mo, yung pera na yun is for that purpose. This can help you siguro sana in your coming na mga budgeting challenges. So next, also you have to understand that budgeting is personal, no? Kanina example lang yun siya, but you can actually create your own Excel sheet. Lagay mo yung how much you're really earning, ano yung mga gastos mo. Okay, so for example, dito you can see that this sample prioritizes. No, kanina dun sa 50, 30, 20, hindi ko yun in-include dun yung charity and donations, no? But for me personally, important siya yung tipong you give back. So if you prioritize that, then put that there. Then also your savings, you put that there. Then of course, no, if you have investments, you can do your own Excel sheet na lang. Yun lang yung message ko for this slide. This is personal. So yung shinare ko sa inyo kanina are just to help you get started. And also, budgeting plan is flexible, no? So hindi to siya fixed, no? Yung tipong dapat talaga ganun, no? Sometimes no, you go a little bit over budget, no? A couple of percentage above, couple percentage below. Basta ang importante dito is if you start tracking your expenses, you will be aware, no? Magkakaiba din tayo ng mga needs. So don't be structured talaga, no? So ayan, this is flexible. Next step, after allocating, no, in different envelopes, the next step is to actually track expenses to check for leaks, no? So yung tipong for your needs na wallet, ano ba yung mga ginastos mo for that month sa needs na wallet mo? You can do it manually, no? Noon when I was college student, ganito yung ginagawa ko kasi I submit yung monthly na expenses ko to my parents, no, from the allowance, no? So at least aware ka kung ano ba dyan yung baka nag-over budget ka, and you can make necessary changes thereafter. But the good thing is ngayon, if hindi kayo comfortable with the pen and paper, meron na mga mobile apps dyan, yung mga expense tracking na mga apps. So maganda pa doon kasi may paminsan, tinatrack niya, it would even give you a summary at the end of the month. Makikita mo talaga visually in a pie chart, no? Magkano yung nagastos mo for your needs, for your wants. Meron din ibang apps na literally gagawa ka ng budget na na wallet. Yung tipong, let's say, budget mo for your needs is 10,000 pesos. Meron din siyang progress bar na 10,000. Every time you log your expenses, you would identify din naman if needs or wants. So if need siya, uusog tong progress bar. And let's say, abot siya ng 80% na of your budget, it would notify you that you're already 80% of your budget. Of course, it would also notify you if beyond budget ka na. Alright? Especially ngayon, we always have our phones with us naman. So, why do we do this? Because again, we need to be aware of the little expenses. A small leak can sink a great ship, no matter how small that is. Kasi, di ba, naalala niyo yung analogy ko kanina, we need to plug some holes. No? Yung mga baka hindi masyado natin kailangan, then maybe we can do away. Sacrifice muna ngayon for a better future. Alright, so that's the step 4. Now, last step, ang maganda sa pagtatrack na expenses ninyo is that you are really aware, no? You will really be aware. Siguro one of the experiences that you will have is that you would realize that paminsan, no, kahit religious ka log na mga expenses mo, paminsan may mga mamistrack ka talaga. Now imagine if you are already tracking your expenses and may na-mistrack ka pa, how much more if hindi ka nagtatrack na expenses mo? Okay? So you might see there might be a leak na hindi mo nakikita. Of course, sa pag-track niyo, 'di ba, paminsan when you open your needs envelope, siguro may sobra doon, 'di ba? So yung step 5 is to actually save and invest the difference, no? Whatever be yung sobra for that cycle, since that budget is for that cycle, you can use that to bulk up your saving and investments, right? So that's the step 5. So in summary, these are your 5 easy steps to plan a budget. So first, determine your take-home pay. Upon determining, apply the 50-30-20 rule of thumb. Then put the allocated money in separate envelopes, no? Yung na-allocate niyo na 50-30-20. Then track expenses to check for leaks, no? Saan ba yung mga unnecessary? And lastly, save and invest the difference, no? Yan, you would really experience that once you do it on your own already. All right? So that is your 5 easy steps to plan a budget. Now, we already learned how to save. We already learned how to budget. Now, sometimes yung budgeting na yun, sometimes kailangan natin ng motivation. And hopefully, this pandemic actually opened us up to this reality. Okay? Anong reality yun? We need to save up for the following crisis. Now, hopefully, with this pandemic, our eyes were open, no, to these possibilities na pwede pala tayo, no, kahit parang out of the blue, parang very yung curveball, we are not able to see it coming, di ba? But this is reality. Of course, this pandemic, alam natin maraming na-displaced na workers, no? So, if you have existing job ngayon, no, thank talaga, no, na meron pa. Kasi you're one of the fortunate ones na meron pa. But others were really forced out of employment. And what if breadwinners sila? Hopefully, the pandemic, that opened us up. Alam natin, mataas yung unemployment rate, kasagsagan ng pandemic. Pwede pala tayong unemployed. Now, of course, also, with the pandemic, hopefully we're able to realize din na pwede pala tayong magkasakit. Okay? Now, problema is, what if we are the breadwinners and wala tayong protection from these two? Okay? So, to give us purpose, parang we can use this pandemic as a motivation. Now, for example, if we get unemployed, the next question is, what if mangyari yan siya sa atin? What would we do? Okay? So, this brings me to the topic of building your emergency fund. Kasi, di ba, pag na-unemploy ka, malaking emergency yun. Bakit? Wala ka ng source of income. Now, what would you do? No? What if, especially if it's beyond your control? No? We can complain, pero if it's beyond your control, parang hindi siya worth it. Diba? So, how do you build your emergency fund? The rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months worth of your average monthly expenses. So, for example, gamitin na lang natin yung 20,000 pesos kanina. So, if your total spending in a month is 20,000 pesos, multiply that by 3 and 6, you get your emergency fund. Let's say 20,000 pesos yung sahod mo, times 3, that is 60,000 pesos. Times 6, that is 120,000 pesos. So, dapat yung emergency fund mo, meron siyang 60 to 120,000. What's the rationale behind the 3 to 6 months? Kasi for the case, no, what if, no? Again, hopefully, we're not praying na this would happen to us, no? But just in case this will happen to us, ma-unemployed tayo suddenly, beyond our control, at least if we have emergency fund, we could still live 3 to 6 months, no? Pwede tayong maghanap ng another job in the next 3 to 6 months. Kasi, meron tayong naipon na expenses, worth of expenses na 3 to 6 months. Okay, this gives us a parang breathing space, no? Of course, when you apply a job, it would take time pa. But I think 6 months is long enough, no? So I believe all of us are competent naman to some degree. So, it's confident tayo na we can find another job. Ang more important is hindi tayo gutom, no? Or we have still funds to get while we are transitioning to another job. On the other hand naman, dun sa reality na magkakasakit tayo, I think, no, this is where insurance comes in. And the rule of thumb for the insurance is 10 to 15 times worth of your gross annual income. So sabihin natin, no, for easy calculation, let's say yung annual income mo is 100,000 pesos. Okay? Times 10 yan is 1 million. Times 15 is 1.5 billion. Okay? So ibig sabihin, yung coverage ng plan mo should be between 1 million to 1.5 million. Kasi that's 10 to 15 times your gross annual income. Okay? So, ano naman ang rationale? Bakit 10 to 15 times worth? Kasi especially if you're a breadwinner of the family, then at least if something happens to you na sudden talaga, no? Especially yung health and magkakasakit tayo, hindi tayo makapagtrabaho, or if kukunin talaga tayo, no? Then that's beyond our control already. So, at least, no? yung maiwanan nun, yung dependents natin, likely family members natin yun siya, they can still live, no? Especially if hindi makahanap ng work yung partner, then they can still live for the next 10 to 15 years from your insurance coverage. So that's the rationale about this. Okay? So hopefully, no, this pandemic was able to open us up with this reality. Okay? So here are some tips in building your emergency fund. No? Parang quick tips lang para baka ngayon napapaisip kayo, no, how do I build that emergency fund? So here are some steps that you can get you started. First, alam niyo na, no, from your 50, 30, 20 budget, maglaan kayo doon, especially yung from the 20%, dapat may part doon na pinag-ipunan niyo for your emergency fund. So sometimes, no, ito yung challenge sa many people. Paminsan, sobrang laki ng hurdle ng first 3 to 6 months. No? So, ano lang, take it slow. Siguro first na goal mo is magkaroon ka ng emergency fund for a month, okay? So after that, next goal mo is for 2 months, then you continuously build on that. So you have to understand na yung goal mo is 6 months, pero reward yourself kahit nakaipon lang kayo for first month, okay? And maging enjoyable yung experience ninyo. Now, once meron na kayo naipon, you can spread that in mga low risk na mga assets. No? For example, savings account, time deposit, and money market mutual fund, among others. No? So, ito kasi yung medyo low risk lang na investment, but hindi rin masyado mataas yung return. Mamaya, pag-uusapan natin yan, yung relationship ng risk and return. Okay? And sometimes challenging pa rin to sa atin. So, these are ways to fast track yung emergency fund ninyo. First tip, in 13th month pay. In 13th month pay, di ba, wala namang 13th month na expenses. Di ba? So, that should be a clean savings, no? Kasi wala naman tayo pinagagastusan sa 13th month, no? Of course, no, we're only human. Of course, we want to enjoy. No, we're not saying na huwag nyo gastusin, but that could be a really ideal situation. Pero, let's say, sabihin nyo, 50% na yung gagastusin ko. The 50%, pwede ko na siya ilaan sa emergency fund ko. That's already half month. Now, what if yung buong 13th month yung ilagay ninyo? So, ibig sabihin yan, kahit hindi ka maglaan sa budget mo, yung 13th month pay mo is already 1 month worth. So, if yan yung strategy ninyo, in 3 years time with your company or your employer, makakabuild ka ng 3 months na emergency fund. No? But of course, no, ang tanong dyan, if contented ka na ba yan sa ganun na rate na pag-ipon ninyo. Okay, another way to fast track is yung mga bonuses or allowance ninyo. So again, siguro you can spend to celebrate, but siguro it might be a good idea to set aside a little bit from your bonuses and allowances. Especially if hindi nyo man talaga kailangan. And ito, another salary increase, no? So I think ganun talaga yung life, no? Paminsan if we get a salary increase, parang gusto rin natin mag-level up yung lifestyle natin, which is okay naman, no? That's your choice din naman. Pero ask yourself na, no? What if something would happen? Ready ba ako? Can I sustain this lifestyle with my current financial situation? Yan, hopefully we learned a thing or two from there. Natutunan natin na importante mag-ipon, understanding our cash flow, then I also taught you 5 easy steps to plan a budget. Ngayon, I even gave you parang initial motivation, no? Yung tipong pwede pala tayong ma-unemployed or pwede pala tayong magkasakit. But of course, no, paminsan parang natatakot tayo, we're preparing for the doom and gloom na situation. But of course, there's another side sa life naman, no? I think all of us here have a vision of ourselves 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. We'd like to live in our dream house, would like to drive our car na gustong-gusto natin, or siguro after this pandemic gusto natin mag-travel around the world kasi parang we used to travel noon, di ba? Pero due to the pandemic, mahirap to travel. So you might do that after this pandemic, or yung mga major milestones in life, no? In building a family, raising kids, and all other na mga visions niyo, whatever that may be. Because likely, whatever those dreams or visions you have yourselves, in the longer term, you need money in order to fuel that. So for example, dito pumapasok yung key point to, no? To save up for your hashtag life goals. For example, gusto natin mag-travel after this pandemic. Tapos we set a budget ng 120,000 pesos. Okay? Then sabihin natin, gusto mo after the pandemic, during the pandemic, nag-ipon ka. Sabihin mo, ipon ako for 2 years kasi di naman din ako kumakain sa labas masyado, then I can save more. And after this pandemic, I want to travel. So sabihin mo, you're going to save for 2 years. Yung 120,000 na budget mo. So if you divide your budget by your saving period, you would get your monthly na saving na target. In this case, 5,000 pesos per month. So, let's say you do that. No, by the way, you can do this automatically. Naturuan ko na rin kayo noon, di ba? Set up kayo ng auto fund transfer to your travel fund. Then, if after doing this for 2 years, yung account mo for your travel, meron na yung laman ng 120,000. So, you're excited, you book your ticket, book your hotels, tapos you estimate your expenses. But now you realize that it's going to cost you 135,000 pesos. No? So, yung budget mo initially is 120,000, but ngayon it would cost you more. Now you scratch your head, no? Why? Why did this happen? So the concept behind this, bakit nag-increase yung price, it's because of inflation. So yung inflation is just the increase of prices of goods and services causing our purchasing power to go down. And here is the latest na mga data from PSA, no? Yung Philippine inflation rate natin for March. For April, lalabas siya within this week. So hintayin natin. But ito yung nangyayari. Last year, mga around 2 to 3% lang yung inflation. Pero when January kicked in, this has been a concern din from investors kasi umangat siya above 4%, which is already above the government's target na 2 to 4%. So ito yung nagsitiasan ng mga sectors, as you can see here sa right side. So yan, no? Pwede yan. We need to factor in inflation. Pag-increase ng mga presyo ng mga bilihin or mga services, which diminishes our purchasing power. That might be hard for us or challenging for us to understand. So here's another example. By the way, 2020, the average na inflation rate was at 2.6%. So let's say 10 years ago, yung 500 pesos look like this. Okay? When I asked my parents 2010, they could buy daw mga 15 to 20 kilos of rice noon with the 500 pesos. Fast forward to the present pandemic, no? Last year, 2020, nagbago na yung muka ng 500 pesos. The look and feel is different, but it is still 500 pesos. Now, yung use naman is to buy goods or services. And 2020, the average kilo per rice is around 50 pesos on average. So, yung 500 pesos mo this would only enable you to buy 10 kilos of rice lang. Now, we're looking at our past and we're saving for our future at the present. So tingnan natin, fast forward natin, sabi natin 2030. 2030, di natin alam. Baka 1 cup of rice na lang yan. We can never tell for sure. Pero looking at the way the prices have been going, the prices of goods and services is also likely to increase din. Kasi kailangan din yan ng economy eh. Although parang diminishing siya sa purchasing power natin, but inflation, no, healthy levels of inflation are also required, are also essential for the growth of the economy. Hopefully with this example, I would like to complete my message sa inyo kanina. I told you a while ago that it's not about how much money you earn, but how much money you save. I even taught you mga budgeting techniques in order to achieve that. But upon realizing na meron palang inflation, hindi pala enough na mag-iipon lang tayo. First step lang yung pag-iipon because you also need to consider how to make it grow. Okay, so just to give you another analogy, no, i-level up natin. Kanina, ano lang yun from the faucet, tapos may water, meron tayong timba, tapos yung timba may mga butas-butas. With our budgeting techniques, we're able to identify those leaks already, na-minimize natin yung expenses natin, therefore, nakapag-ipon tayo. But yung the act of budgeting, parang hindi lang yung ganun, no? With the budgeting techniques you've learned kanina, parang nilagyan natin yung timba or yung pot ng mga soil. Kasi pag nalagyan ng soil yung pot, mas nare-retain niya yung tubig. Especially if magaling na tayo mag-budget. Okay? Yun, no? Nasa-save natin yung water or yung income natin. But ngayon, sayang din naman if bare soil lang siya. This might be a good opportunity to actually plant a seed doon sa pot na yun. Okay? Kasi yung seed, if you plant it, and if you take care of it well, that could grow into something better. No? Mag-grow in this case, yung ipon natin. But again, we acknowledge na while nag-grow yung yung plant natin, meron yung mga caterpillars, mga pests, di ba? And this pest actually represents your inflation. Ito yung risk natin sa purchasing power natin. Now, yung goal na lang natin dito is that hanap tayo ng asset class wherein yung growth ng pera natin beats the rate ng inflation. Okay? And dyan na pumapasok yung topic natin for investing. Again, we learned that it's not about how much money you earn, but how much money you save. With the budgeting techniques na tinuro ko, you should be able to apply this already. But lastly, natutunan natin na meron palang kumakain sa purchasing power ng pera natin. So, yan yung tinatawag nating inflation. So, we should also consider how we can grow our money. Alright, so again ha, what I'm emphasizing here is that importante mag-ipon, importante mag-budget. But after saving and budgeting, at the back of our heads, we should be aware na merong inflation. So we must be able to beat inflation. So this begs the question, no? How to grow our hard-earned money and beat inflation, no? How do we actually grow that? And that question brings us to the topic of investing, no? We're now climbing higher, no? Ngayon, hindi na tayo saving and budgeting lang. Matututo naman tayo how to invest our money. So, you have to understand lang, no, before we go any further, that investing is actually personal. Magkakaiba yung investing style natin at the end of the day. Kasi magkakaiba tayo ng experience. Your experience in investing in the market might not be the same as others. Next, magkakaiba din tayo ng risk appetite, no? Yung risk appetite natin, this gives us parang know-how, no, on what type of asset classes are we comfortable to invest in. Kaya ba natin yung risk involved sa market na yun or sa asset class na yun. Next is the time horizon. Okay? So yung time horizon naman, di ba kanina, meron kayong vision of yourselves, no? Whatever be those goals are, short term, medium term, or long term goals man yun. Yung time horizon pa lang would help you filter, no? Ano yung maganda na investan just with your time horizon. And magkakaiba yan kasi magkakaiba tayo ng goals, right? And of course, sensitivities. So yung sensitivities, magkakaiba tayo na sometimes magkaiba yung reactions natin if our portfolio goes up by 10% or it goes down by 10% due to the market risk. So magkakaiba tayo ng sensitivities and magkakaiba tayo ng reaction to that sensitivities. Now, so my question lang dito is, alam na ba natin what type of investor we are? Likely hindi pa. I prepared here an investor personality test. Yung mga questions nito are multiple choice. So answer yung most applicable sa inyo. And answer as honest as you can. Okay, so first question. I am A, 65 years old and above. B, between 51 to 64 years old. C, between 36 to 50 years old. Or D, between 18 to 35 years old. Alright, so yan, first question. Second question. What level of risk in relation to investment returns are you most comfortable with right now? So you're trying to balance right now yung risk and potential reward. So A, I am okay with very low returns as long as my principal is protected. B, I can accept minimal risk for stable returns. C, I can accept moderate risk and short-term losses for potentially higher returns over time. Or D, I am willing to take high risks to achieve the highest potential returns over the long term. Let's move on to the next question, number 3. How long are you willing to keep your money invested? Is it A, less than a year? B, 1 to 3 years? C, more than 3 years but less than 5 years? Or D, 5 years or more? Fourth question, how much do you know about investments? Is it A, minimal, you have savings and time deposits? B, low, I know the basics of money markets and bonds? C, medium, I have existing mutual funds and UITFs? Or D, high, I trade stocks. 5, how long have you been investing? Is it A, less than 1 year? B, 1 to 5 years? C, 6 to 10 years? Or D, more than 10 years? So if ever hindi pa kayo nakapagsimula, A, that's less than 1 year. Okay, so if nakapagsimula na kayo, you have the choices there. Next question. Less your regular expenses. How much of your income can you invest? Application na to sa natutunan nyo kanina. But ngayon, on your personal level, how much can you invest? Is it 10% or less? 11 to 20%? 21 to 30%? Or more than 30%? We have 94 questions to go. Just kidding. Last question. How would you feel if the value of your investment goes down in the short term? Sabihin natin in the next 1 to 2 years, pababa yung value niya. Again, this is market risk. No? Market risk. So is it A, any principal loss is not acceptable to me? B, I would be a little concerned and would monitor my investment until it recovers? C, it wouldn't be much of a concern as long as I still get positive returns eventually? Or D, I am a long-term investor. I wouldn't be concerned because I understand high returns are associated with high risk. Okay, so anong meaning yan? What does that mean? So right now, we're going to score that. No? So for every letter A that you have, let's score that 1 point. For every letter B that you have, let's score that 2 points. For every letter C that you have, let's score that 3 points. And every letter D that you have, you score it 4 points. So after scoring, what I want you to do is to actually total, get the sum. So ngayon, after determining, no, answering those questions, let's look at your investor personality right now. So let's say you scored below 7 points, you are conservative. So 1 yung risk rating mo. If you scored between 8 to 10 points, you're moderately conservative. Risk rating mo is 2. Then if you scored 11 to 15 points, you are moderate or balanced. Risk rating mo is 3. If you scored between 16 to 21 points, you are moderately aggressive. Risk rating mo is 4. And lastly, if you scored 22 points and above, you are aggressive and your risk rating is 5. All right? So now you know what type of investor you are. Ngayon, we're going to match your investor personality. We're going to match that to the suitable investment for you. So ano yung right investment for you? All right? So are you excited? No? Pwede ba ako sa stocks? All right. So ano yung tamang investment for you? So again, naalala niyo yung risk rating niyo. So, let's say you scored 1, no? You are conservative. So, if you are conservative, yung maganda na investment for you or suitable sa iyo is time deposits, treasury bills, and short-term bonds. Okay, yun yung maganda sa inyo. If you scored 2 naman, you might like yung mga bonds, no? Yung government or corporate bonds. If you scored 4, moderately aggressive, ayan, good news, no? Pwede kayo sa equities. Pero to start siguro, maybe you can stick with the PSE index tracker. Okay? So, i-discuss natin yan sa stock market 101, ano yan siya. But essentially, ito yung nagtatrack sa performance ng index. Okay? So, hindi ka nagsa-stock picks. Kasi kung if you scored 5, ayan, pwede na kayo mag-individual stock picking kasi you are aggressive. Likely, meron na kayong experience and mahaba yung time horizon ninyo. Oh, sir, you seems like you skipped number 3. Alright, so don't worry. If you scored 3, ayan. So, it's good to have a mix between your stocks and your bonds kasi you are moderate or balanced. Okay, so with inflation, natutunan natin na kailangan natin mag-invest. Okay, we should consider investing. But you have to understand that investing is personal. So, natutunan din natin yan what type of investor you are. Now, with this slide, ito yung mga suitable investment for you. But again, at the end of the day, no one's stopping you naman. No? So, but right now, based from our initial assessment, ito yung suitable sa inyo. Alright, so discuss muna natin briefly ano ba yun? What are each of those? Baka hindi kayo familiar. So, first is yung asset class na deposits. Usually, these are offered by your banks. Diba, if we have deposits sa banks natin, we safe keep our money sa banks, then the banks would give us interest earnings from that. What the bank does in order to pay those interest earnings is they actually find borrowers sa pera natin, pero hindi nila pwede yan ipautang lahat kasi meron tayong reserve requirement ratio. So, a portion of your money, pwede nila yan ipautang, then they charge interest on that. So yung difference na interest na nakuha nila from the borrowers and deduct that by their interest earnings na that they told you, then yan yung parang income ng mga banks. Okay, so yung mga common deposit instruments, you have your time deposits, okay, you have your savings accounts or your checking accounts. So yun yung mga familiar sa atin. And ways to earn sa deposits is yung interest. Di ba? May predetermined yan na certain percentage. But ito, since low risk siya, maganda dito na time horizon is short term. So, if you're going to need the money siguro in 1 or 2 years, might be best to put that in a deposit instrument. Now, the good thing about this lang is that meron PDIC, no? Na Philippine Deposit Insurance na corporation. So, meron siyang sense of security up to some level. So, kanina binanggit ko rin after the deposits, pwede rin kayo mag-invest sa bonds, no? So, ito for those who scored 2 or 3 risk rating, yung mga moderately conservative and mga balanced. So itong mga bonds naman, usually ang nag-i-issue nito are corporations or our government entity. For example, meron silang mga projects, they need money for that. So in order to raise that money, they could actually issue bonds. Yung bonds will be issued, no, or offered to the general investing public. Usually sinasabi nila yung term, how many years yung bond, tapos how much yung interest payment or coupon payments ng bond na yun. And sinasabi din nila if tradable yung bond or hindi. So for example, merong interested sa offer na yun, then they would give money to the corporation or government entity. Then yung mga investors, they can earn through capital gains or coupon payments. How do they pay for that? Of course, yung profit from the project that they told you about when they offered you the bonds. Alright, so common na mga bonds available there are actually dalawa lang, no? You have your government bonds and your corporate bonds. Okay, so kung government ang nag-issue, ala sa government bond. Corporate ang nag-issue, corporate bond. Because of the perceived na lesser risk sa government, considering that they could just print money to pay debt, usually higher yung rates ng corporate bonds. This gives people more incentive na to choose then corporate bonds over government bonds because it's relatively higher interest rates. Okay? And yung interest rates na yun, no? You would receive that in terms of coupons. Kasi noon, may coupon talaga yan sa bond na you take it out, ibigay mo doon para bigyan ka ng interest for that period. Paminsan, quarterly, twice a year, or once a year. And some bonds are also tradable. So, pwede din kayo kumita sa capital gains if possible. But some bonds, hindi sila tradable. So, hold to maturity ka. And yun din maganda sa bonds pala. Kasi forms of debt siya. Merong predetermined na interest rate or coupon payments. Tapos, meron siyang maturity date. Ibig sabihin, since utang siya, ibabalik sa'yo yung pera after the maturity date. Then, on top niyan, while hawak nila yung pera mo from the bond, makakatanggap ka ng coupon payments. And those are your ways to earn sa bonds. Okay, so maganda ang bonds if yung longer yung time horizon mo. For example, money you're not going to use mga 3 to 5 years. So, medium to long term, maganda bonds. So, lastly, meron din tayong tinatawag na stocks. So, stocks, medyo similar lang siya sa bonds. Pero, yung bonds are forms of debt. Pero itong stocks are forms of ownership in a publicly listed corporation. So, same process. If that publicly listed company, meron silang projects na gustong i-undertake, they need money for that. They source the money from the general investing public. But since this is not debt, so wala tong interest or coupon payments. If you bought stocks, then you become part owner of that business, which two ways for you to earn is through capital gains and dividends. Okay, so the potential growth of the share price or a share of the company's profits. But again, just to sum up, stocks are parang shares of ownership mo or part ownership in a listed company. Two ways for you to earn. If merong bibili sa'yo at a much higher price due to better growth prospects, or if you continue to hold on the stocks tapos magde-declare sila ng dividends, that's your share in the company's profits. But again, the dividends are not guaranteed kasi dependent siya sa board of directors. Because of this, no, we take on the market risk and more risk, mas maganda ang stocks for longer term horizon. So if you're not going to use that money in more than 5 years, 7 or 8 years or more, let's say for your retirement, you might consider allocating some sa stocks. Alright, so yan. Just to recap, yung mga asset classes that we discussed. So again, you have your deposits, you have your bonds, and you have your stocks. Just to summarize, as you go further to the right, the risk involved actually increases. So by this virtue, stocks are riskier than your bonds. Bonds are riskier than your deposits. But like life, if we are able to take higher amount of risk, the potential return also increases. Okay, so magkano ba yung mga returns recently? So sa deposits, for the right amount of money, they can probably give you 0.5% per annum rate dyan. Okay? For example, yung bonds, yung RTB24, 5-year bond siya, so that's the tenor ng bond. So 5 years hawakan ng government yung pera mo. Pero while hawak nila yung pera mo, they would give you 2.625% gross per annum na interest or coupon rate. But again, subject to withholding tax. RTB24 yan. Okay? Sa stocks naman, it's not like your bonds and deposits na fix yung mga rates, no? May mga per annum rates dyan. So, in some sense, medyo fixed siya. Sa stocks naman, we can never tell talaga where the market will go. But in the last 10 years, ito yung average growth rate ng market. So, parang, of course, no, may mga years na positive yung stock market, may mga years na negative yung market. But if we average the past 10 years, it's as if nag-grow siya ng 9.85% per year. Okay? But again, emphasize ko, varying yan siya. Hindi yan siya consistent, no? Hindi yan always 9.85. It can go up, it can go down, depending sa sentiment ng market. By the way, this numbers is ending in 2019. Okay, I have yet to factor in yung sa 2020. So, especially yan, may pandemic, so medyo aberration siya. Okay? So, ayan. As you can see, higher yung potential return, higher yung risk. For example, yung pinag-usapan natin kanina na time horizon, that's actually the third axis. Kasi, again, yung goals natin as investors magkaiba. Kakaiba-iba tayo. When you look at these numbers, di ba, our goal for investing is to beat inflation. And yung inflation ng 2020 average is around 2.6%. So from these numbers, it seems like yung kaya mag-pace sa inflation are your bonds and your stocks. Kasi higher siya sa inflation rate ng 2020 average eh. So does this mean na hindi na tayo mag-invest sa deposits? We beg to differ. Kasi again, we need to look at the third component, which is the time horizon. Kanina pinag-usapan natin yung emergency fund, di ba? So for example, yung emergency fund, we build that in anticipation na merong mangyari sa atin. Okay, be it ma-unemployed tayo or yung insurance natin na magkakasakit tayo. And sometimes when life throws those curveballs to us, hindi natin sudden siya kaya tawag nga emergency fund. So it might not be wise to put it in stocks. Kasi sa stocks again, magkakaiba yung performance ng market, 'di ba? Ang pwede lang namin mabigay na number is yung historical, over the long term. So by the virtue na since di natin ma-predict that well yung stock market, then it might not be a good idea to put your emergency fund there. Kasi what if may mangyari sa'yo? Then you might be put in a position wherein you have to sell your positions at a loss. And we don't want to do that. So even though sa deposits, mababa lang yung potential return, but remember that the risk is also low. So best to put yung short-term goals natin sa deposits. Okay? How about our medium to long-term goals? Ito na. Kanina, we help you realize the importance of building your emergency fund. Ngayon, after building your emergency fund, it might be good to consider building your growth fund naman, which is from the personality test kanina, maganda to have a mix between your bonds and your stocks. Okay, so hopefully na-summarize ko in that, hopefully maalala nyo rin siya dyan na slide. Okay, simulate tayo, no? If I invested 100,000 in these asset classes, sa time deposits, treasury bills, and PSE index, 10 or 20 years ago, how much will it be thereafter? So I actually simulated dito for the past 10 years. I compared yung performance ng time deposit, treasury bill, and your PSEI. So sabihin natin nag-start tayo ng 100,000 10 years ago. By the way, ending to 2019. Okay? So if we invested it in, let's say, time deposit, treasury bills, and PSEI, ito yung curves nila. Itong green, that is your PSEI. Yung blue is your time deposit and yung red is your treasury bill. Okay, yan yung mga respective growths nila. So, if we take the average growth rate nila in the past 10 years, ito yun sila. Time deposits, nasa 2.2%. Treasury bill, nasa 2.77%. Yung PSEI, dito nanggaling yung 9.85%. Okay? But again, we want to invest because we want to beat inflation. And in the last 10 years, ito yung inflation niya. So, nasa 3.03%. So, you can see here that PSEI was actually able to beat talaga inflation. So, you can see here that in the past 10 years, healthier yung growth sa PSEI, higher yung rate of return, and it was able to beat inflation historically. Alright, so what if we go 20 years, no? Ito 10 years to. How about last 20 years? Tingnan natin for longer term. So same, no? Simulation natin, start tayo ng 100,000. Ito yung mga final numbers nila. Okay, so again, yung 20-year average growth rate nila, time deposit was at 4.16%, yung blue. Treasury bill is at 5.46%, that's yung red. And yung PSEI, that's the 6.68%. Okay, so as you can see, healthier yung growth sa stocks over the longer term. Then higher rate of return din, nakita nyo rin dyan over the last 20 years. And ito yung inflation, yung yellow. So average na inflation, the last 20 years, nasa 3.96%. So, talo niya pa rin yung inflation. And hopefully with this slide, nakita niyo yung importance of investing. If you have a spread of investments sa time deposits, treasury bills, and PSEI, then talo niya talaga yung inflation. Okay? But as you can see from the graph, di ba, may mga periods. Now, actually, that's the purpose of this slide, no? I want you to see na merong periods na talo ng other asset classes ang PSEI, especially during the start kasi sobrang laki ng mga interest rates way back. So, anong point ko after showing you this? Again, over the long term, talo ng PSEI ang other asset classes, talo niya rin ng inflation. But merong periods that other asset classes perform better. So, anong point ko dito why I said this? Again, diversify. Now, don't put all your eggs in one basket. No? So, that's why sabi ko sa inyo, for different goals ninyo, i-invest nyo siya into different na mga asset classes. Emergency fund niyo, lagay nyo siya sa deposits. Short-term and long-term goals niyo, you have a good mix between your stocks and bonds. By virtue of diversification, we balance our risk that we are taking. By the way, by investing pa lang, you're taking on risk already. Okay? Balancing natin yan siya sa gusto nating reward. Kasi again, walang guarantee talaga sa stock market. Okay? So, that's why, no? You might be at this point, naisip nyo, sige, ano bang maganda? So, ito yung mga sinuggest ng mga experts. For example, si Benjamin Graham. He is the author of Intelligent Investor. Sa mga fundamental analyst dyan, ito yung ano niyo, no? One of the books that you really follow, no? Yung The Intelligent Investor. So, quite simple lang kay Benjamin Graham. 50-50. 50% stocks, 50% bonds. Next, yung nag-study under Benjamin Graham and probably the best investor of our generation, you have si Sir Warren Buffett. So si Sir Warren Buffett naman, ito yung parang will niya sa 2013 letter to Berkshire Hathaway investors. Sabi niya, whatever be yung iiwan niya sa asawa niya, ganito yung allocation na gusto sabi niya. Sabi niya, 10% in government bonds, 90% in low-cost index funds. Okay, so malalaman mo talaga na si Warren Buffett, medyo ano talaga siya, aggressive. Kasi 90% are in low-cost index funds, stocks yan siya, and konti lang allocation sa government bonds, okay, for stability. Next, after Warren Buffett, ito naman, si Sir John Bogle. He is the author of the Little Book of Common Sense Investing. Siya rin nagsimula ng Vanguard, which is a really well-known na mutual fund company. So si Sir John Bogle naman, yung suggestion niya medyo hindi fixed, no? Tulad ni Warren Buffett and ni Benjamin Graham. Sabi niya, your age in bonds, the rest in stocks. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Sabi niya, may equation siya 100 minus your age in bonds, the rest in stocks. So sabihin natin, you are 20 years old. Your age in bonds, so that's 20%. Then the rest, 80% is in stocks. If you're 40 years old, your age in bonds, that's 40%, 60% lang sa stocks. Once you reach 60 years old, 60% na ngayon ng bonds, 40% na lang ang stocks. Anong rationale dito? As you can see, the younger you are, since especially if you're preparing for retirement, you have a longer time horizon. Okay, so since longer yung time horizon mo, you can weather the swings ng market. So you can be a little bit more aggressive if medyo younger ka pa. Okay, but as you grow older, especially if you're in your retirement na, hindi mo na priority yung growth potential ng stocks. Kaya konti lang yung exposure mo sa stocks. Mas importante na during your retirement, yung stability and income na generate ng bonds. Okay, kaya ganito yung rationale niya. Okay, so that's from John Bogle. Here's another one from Ray Dalio. So si Ray Dalio naman, ito yung sabi niyang all-weather portfolio na lumabas doon sa book ni Tony Robbins na Money Master the Game. So a little bit more complex na siya kasi he's actually a hedge fund manager. Sabi niya, ito yung sabi niyang all-weather na portfolio. So 30% in stocks, 40% in long-term bonds, 15% in intermediate-term bonds, and a little bit of allocation, 7.5% sa gold and commodities. Okay, so para sa kanya ito. So as you can see, different experts, magkakaiba sila ng portfolio. Kasi again, balik tayo doon sa natutunan natin kanina. That investing is personal. So, magkakaiba-iba yan. Kasi iba-iba tayo ng goals. So, ang point ko lang dito is that sa sarili mo, understand mo lang that there's no bulletproof strategy. Wala talaga tayong masasabi na if ito yung gagawin mong allocation, ito yung best or most efficient. Kasi at the end of the day, personal siya. Magkakaiba tayo, each of us. So, ang tanong mo lang talaga dito is you have to decide on a comfortable stock-to-bond allocation for your medium to long-term goals. Yung feel mo na comfortable ka, malalaman mo naman yan, you can adjust it as the years goes by. So, importante, once you decide on that stock bond allocation, you stick with it. Okay? You stick with it. No? So, yan yung sabi ni John Bogle na stay the course. No? Stay the course. Kasi at the end of the day, no, ito lang yung sigurado. No? Maraming uncertainty sa pag-invest, pero this will likely happen to you. Okay? Whatever stock bond allocation you choose, no, you will regret your decision at one point. Bakit? For example, down yung market, stock market. Tapos, aggressive ka sa portfolio mo. Malaki yung allocation mo sa stocks. Then, during that time, bearish yung market, you tell yourself na, ay, I put too much sa stocks. Pero pag nag-recover naman yung stocks, nilitan mo yung allocation mo sa stocks kasi nga na despair ka doon sa previous experience mo, nung nag-recover yung market, sasabihin mo naman sa sarili mo, ay, too less naman yung nilagay ko sa stocks kasi nag-recover siya. Again, decide on the comfortable stock bond allocation for you, then stick with what you are comfortable with. But again, nagbabago yung presyo. Even the bond market, nagbabago yung pricing niya, yung market value niya. Tulad ng budgeting, dapat flexible din tayo sa asset allocation natin. Kasi we need to embrace our humanity. Kasi if medyo stricto siya, no? So medyo hindi tayo flexible but life throws us many curveballs. So remember nyo lang that allocations need not precise. No? Hindi yan siya precise talaga. So sabihin mo, yung initial allocation mo na comfortable ka is 60-40. 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. So again, hindi dapat yan precise. Sabihin mo, give yourself room na plus minus 10%. So for example, let's say umakyat yung market. So nag-up ng 10% itong 60% na portfolio mo. So ibig sabihin yan, 70% na yung stocks mo, 30% na lang yung sa bonds mo. So again, give yourself room. No? Okay lang yan. Pero pag lumagpas na siya ng 10%, beyond na siya sa legroom mo, then you can consider to take profit. So let's say umabot siya ng 20%. So 80% na ngayon sa stocks, 20% na lang sa bonds. Then you can take profit yung 10% above your leeway na 10%. In doing so, you sell 10% of your stock portfolio, lipat mo na siya ngayon sa bonds para bumalik siya sa allowable mo na 70-30. Okay? Let's say bumaba yung market, no? Bumaba yung stocks. So down siya ng 10%. So naging 50% stocks na lang, 50% na yung bonds. What you can do here is, pwede mong dagdagan yung allocations mo sa stock in order to maintain this 60-40 na allocation. Okay, so again, be flexible about it kasi nga yung market medyo volatile siya. So kahit mga once a year kayo mag-balance, pwede yan siya. Okay? So in summary, first, the importance, no, why we should save our hard-earned money by budgeting. Okay? So, kailangan natin, no, hopefully we impress upon that today na you should consider to really save your money. That's the first step. And for you to save your money, para mas madali, mas maganda if you have a budget already. So, kasi with a budget, it tells you where your money will go instead of wondering where it went. Bakit natin kailangan mag-save and budget? Kasi we need to protect ourselves for the next crisis. Hopefully, namulat tayo sa pandemic na pwede pala tayong unemployed and pwede tayong magkasakit. So, what would happen if that happens to us, no? Na beyond our control. So, yun yung purpose ng emergency fund and insurance. And lastly, to achieve our life goals. Kasi yun naman yung beauty ng life and we need to enjoy. So, yun yung hashtag life goals natin. We need to consider that kasi at the end of the day, we want to invest because we want to grow our money na hindi lang iniipon, but we also make sure that a portion of that also grows to beat inflation, especially for our longer term financial goals. Okay? And towards the end, I also taught you yung mga different asset allocation strategies, no? By experts and yung personal ninyo. So again, before investing, again, you have to understand that diversify to balance risk and reward with appropriate asset allocation strategy. Either you followed yung mga what other experts suggested na fit sa lifestyle ninyo, or you have your own. Okay, kasi again, at the end of the day, investing is personal. So with that summary, I'd like to circle back to my core message for you tonight. Again, I want us all to achieve our hashtag life goals. Whatever that is, no? I've taught you 3 ways. Maraming paraan to achieve your life goals. Pero I've taught you 3 ways to achieve that. That is to budget, save, and invest your hard-earned money. Okay? So hopefully, no, this will leave an impression to you. But as a general disclaimer, no, towards the end of this presentation, hopefully na-impress upon ko rin sa inyo that there's no guarantee in investing. Na meron talaga tayong mga risks na tinitake. But yun, we manage that risk that we take on in anticipating na meron tayong returns na makukuha. Again, there's no guarantee in investing, but if you don't invest, nothing will happen. And that's also a guarantee. So again, there's no guarantee in investing, but if you don't invest, nothing will happen. And that's a guarantee. So if you found value in this seminar, feel free to invite us for a free webinar also. No, we have market education team members from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Again, we can tailor fit a webinar exclusive for your company or your organization. Kung gusto niyo ng beginner level, intermediate level, or advanced level, or specific topic, we can tailor fit it for you. So these are our upcoming webinars. So I think you've seen this sa Facebook page namin. Tapos na tayo sa financial and investment literacy. Next natin, on Thursday, FundSmart 101, Mutual Fund Investing Made Easy. That will be on May 6. Then on Saturday, Stock Market 101. So ngayon, alaman niyo naman na pwede ba kayo sa stocks or hindi. You've learned from the investor profile. Dito naman mga in-depth naman to ng mga discussion. Then, ito yung mga other schedules. Ito pala yung mga basic namin na mga level, no? Basic to intermediate level. Okay, na mga webinars, which are for free. Okay, if you want to take it to another level, ito naman yung intermediate to advanced level. We also have our upcoming Guided Investor Fearless Trader, which is actually our flagship learning series. Wherein dito naman we will talk about in-depth talaga about fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and how you can build your own trading system. So, paano ba? No, essentially, sa fundamental analysis, tinitingnan mo if maganda ba yung kumpanya na yan? Kumikita ba sila? Strong ba yung balance sheet nila? Maganda ba yung management team nila? And is it trading at a discount na pwede mo siyang mabili at a cheaper market price na ngayon kasi higher yung valuation mo sa kanya. So, fundamental analysis yan. Essentially, this answers if maganda ba yung negosyo and mura ba yung negosyo. Then, next, no, 3-week pala to na session, no? Pwede kayo mag-attend pa isa-isa. Ito yung mga schedules nila. Or pwede yung ikunin as a bundle. So, you also have technical analysis on 3rd week of June. So, sa technical analysis naman, how to read price charts. So, ano yung mindset ng trader? How do you look at the historical price action in order to find yung possible na future direction ng stock price? Dito niyo matutunan yung mga risk management. Tapos, best, no, to marry your fundamental and technical analysis, dito sa last week of June, you have your build your own trading system workshop just to marry the two and have your own. Kasi again, balik tayo ha, investing and even trading are personal. So, build your own. We always emphasize that sa mga learning sessions namin. Okay? So, after that, we also have recurring or periodical na mga events. At we have Spotify. I believe many of us do. So, if you want an update about the market weekly basis, follow our Spotify na podcast. No? Actually, one of the top PH business podcast siya ngayon. So, ito yung latest. What happened in the stock market in April. So if you're driving home from work or you're driving to work or nasa lunch break kayo, feel free to get yourselves updated. No? So yung mga idle times natin. So ito weekly siya. Kung gusto niyo naman ng monthly, ito yun siya. The Philippine Stock Market Wrap-Up. What happened to the stock market last month? What to expect to happen sa market next month? And ano yung mga updates sa mga stock picks ng FirstMetroSec Research. So hopefully, I was able to impress upon you that you only need one account for all your investment needs, no? Be it you'd like to invest in stocks, mutual funds, or more, or kahit you'd like to trade using your desktop, laptops, or mobile phones, pwedeng-pwede yan siya sa FirstMetroSec. Once you have an account with us, you can now trade PSE-listed stocks, also real estate investment trust, and exchange-traded funds. And sometimes we also participate as a selling agent doon sa retail treasury bonds. So, okay. So, again, ang convenience is always in mind kasi we have actually a mobile app, no? Kasi, of course, no? So, sa mobile app nito, you can even buy or sell stocks on the go anytime, anywhere, as long as you are online. You can also access research reports and yung mga conditional orders. So, if you want to download the app, that's just FirstMetroSec Go sa Google Play Store or sa App Store. But of course, di kayo makalogin sa account if hindi pa active yung account niyo. So, open na kayo ng account online. So, once you have an account with us, multiple din yung funding options. Kung gusto mo mag-online bills payment, pwede yan siya sa mga BPI, Metrobank, and BDO, pwede. Or yung mga convenient options through credit card or GCash, coins.ph, or sa 7-Eleven click. But usually sa mga convenient options, mga ano yan sila, meron silang convenience fee. Pero yung sa online banking facilities, sa bills payment ng Metrobank, BPI, and BDO, wala po yan siyang bayad. Okay? So walang charge. So we've also gone paperless, no? Kahit yung account opening namin, your funding and withdrawal, you can do that online. Kahit yung access ng statements ninyo, you have access diyan online. Okay? So all this convenience within your reach through Finance Asia's Philippines Best Broker for 2017, 2018, and 2020. Also, International Finance's best online trading platform for 2021. So here in FirstMetroSec, we have a hashtag #YourFutureFirst. So if you have further questions, I'd like to promote din yung help center namin. So that's help.firstmetrosec.com.ph. Anything under the sun na related to your account, likely makikita nyo dito. Join also the growing FirstMetroSec family sa Facebook community namin. So that is facebook.com/groups/FirstMetroSec. Siguro nga din, no, to keep it lively, siguro naman sa inyo, meron nag-screenshot sa inyo ng mga notable slides dito sa seminar na to. So if you want to engage with other investors din doon sa community namin, feel free to post doon sa community kung what you've learned, no, or yung greatest takeaway ninyo tonight, para ma-aware din naman sila na you had fun or you enjoyed or you learned a lot from this webinar. Okay? Then, baka I can reply din doon, no, if I can see your post. Just para ma-engage tayo. Okay? Then, of course, no, once you have an account with us, you can also join our Viber market updates. Meron ng QR code dito that you can scan so you can join right now. Diyan, we will post yung daily stock market updates, corporate news, dividend announcements, alerts on new research reports, recommendations, and stock market guidance. Daily yan siya, no? Before the market opens, during the market period, kung merong relevant news, or post-market, anong analysis niya. So, we are around 2,000 plus doon. So, feel free to connect with us. Ito yung website namin. Main website namin is www.firstmetrosec.com.ph. Sa social media channels namin, hanapin nila yung handle @FirstMetroSec. If you have concerns about your account, email kayo dito sa customerservice@firstmetrosec.com.ph. If you want follow up dun sa account opening, ninyo, by the way, no, advice ko sa inyo, ngayon, the account opening na turnaround time namin, nasa 10 business days na talaga if kompleto yung requirements ninyo. So if lumagpas kayo sa 10 business days, likely may kulang yung requirements ninyo. If you want to follow up, email kayo dito, accountopening@firstmetrosec.com.ph. If you'd like to invite us for a free webinar for your organization, dito kayo mag-email, marketeducation@firstmetrosec.com.ph. And with that, again, thank you all, no, for joining us tonight. Okay, so let's answer some questions. Would it be okay to invest your emergency fund? Yes, no? Again, investing is personal, ha? But if emergency fund siya, again, na-explain ko kanina, it might be good to put it in a low risk na asset class. Bahala na low yung return. Para pag kailangan natin siya, when the emergency happens, likely buo yung pera natin. Okay? Yung purchasing power lang yung risk natin kasi baka kulang na siya by the time, no? But again, I think it would be smart to put it in a deposit ng mga instruments. Ano ba dapat unahin, emergency fund or investments or life insurance? If you were to ask me, dapat maganda unahin is yung emergency fund and life insurance bago tayo mag-investment. Okay? That's why we started with this session. Okay? Kasi yung emergency fund mo and your life insurance gives you a solid footing, no, or a solid foundation bago kayo mag-investments. But of course, no, some people might not like that. So what you can consider is to actually pagsabayin ninyo. No? So as you are working right now, you set aside for your emergency fund. Yeah, you set aside for your investment. Tapos you also set aside for your insurance. So that could be a win-win situation for most. Ito, as a student daw, how would saving up or budgeting be possible if there's no such thing as income? True, no? Kung estudyante ka pa, wala ka pang income. But how about your allowance? Maybe you can use your allowance as a starting point to actually learn how to manage your finances. No? So baka pag binibigyan kayo ng allowance, kasi alam niyo next day, bibigyan kayo ng bagong allowance or next week, you're prone to spend it all. No? But again, yung binibigay sa inyo ng parents niyo, kahit student pa kayo, treat that as your income. Okay? Develop the skills. Kasi ito ha, in my experience, pag natanggap niyo yung first paycheck ninyo, sobrang laki ng difference niya compared, depende, no? But in my case, sobrang laki ng difference niya, nag-multiply siya ng 5 or 8 times yung rate, no? Parang ganun, compared nung estudyante pa ako. So, problema nun, if hindi ka equipped to handle that kind of money, then baka magagastos mo lang din siya. Okay? So, treat your allowance as your income. Or, yun, siguro, if you can consider, no, if you see merit in becoming a working student, you might consider that also. Kasi may matutunan ka rin doon sa experience na yun. Okay? But again, with the consent of your parents. Okay? Ayan, no? So, may mga compliments na they learn a lot daw. Ayan, no? So, I'm very happy to see that. How can I open an account even if I'm only a minor? So, for you to have your own individual account, dapat 18 years old and above ka. Pero meron tayong tinatawag na account na ITF or Interest for Account na yung tipong under your name siya but since you are minor, ang mag-handle is yung parent mo or your legal guardian or who else, no? So, Interest for. Pero pag when you reach the legal age of 18, inform nyo lang yung customer service, then they would change from an ITF account to an individual account. So, possible siya kahit minor kayo. Pero in Trust 4, hindi siya individual account. Our students, no? Seems like maraming estudyante tayo tonight, no? Are students allowed po for opening account in FirstMetroSec? Yes, as long as you're above 18 years old. May bayad po ba yung Guided Investor Fearless Trader? Yes po. Kasi yun siya as in sobrang valuable niya, no? In my opinion, kahit ako employee ako, I make sure to attend that as many times as I can kasi marami akong natutunan from time to time. But what I can say is very sulit siya for the money that you're going to pay. I personally like yung structure, the way it is taught. Sobrang galing ni Sir Aaron Sai. Really, really good guy. Ayan, may question dito, no? Same pa daw kami ng COL Financial. Yes, they are our friendly competitor. We are in the same business, no? Stock brokerage. Do you have a platform or web? Yes, yun siya, yung www.firstmetrosec.com.ph. Once you have an account with us, may username and password ka, you can trade stocks there on your own. Okay? Next question. Ayan, if registered in a digital or yung earnest, no need po ba mag-open ng savings account? Pwede nyo na gamitin yung earnest na account ninyo, the digital bank of Metro Bank, to be your settlement account. So, pwede siya. So, yan. So, I think that's already a good session to start with. Okay? So, with that, thank you all.